Hi, welcome to ActiveLab. This is the official podcast of Active SGB. My name is Diane Velez, and I'm here joined with Jose Madera from the Pasadena Job Center as part of NDLON. We're celebrating and we're highlighting the organization of the year that will be celebrated at Noche de las Luminarias, where we celebrate our 15-year anniversary. So congratulations on receiving the Outstanding SGB Community Organization Award of 2025. Your work through the Pasadena Community Job Center during and after the Eaton Fire showed what true community leadership looks like, and you expressed it very well through the community. For those who may not be familiar, can you tell us a bit about NDLON and the role of the Pasadena Community Job Center?
So thank you again for the space and all the work that you do, and we're very honored to be the recipient. Again, we love being in community and growing in community, and this is very exciting. So thank you for that. And NDLON, which stands for National Day Labor Organizing Network, it's an national organization that's been here for over 20 years. Its mission is to improve the lives of day labor, the day labor community, empowering them, providing resources. And it has 70 worker centers all over the country: Texas, New York, Seattle, different states, and one of them being the Pasadena Community Job Center. And that's the center that NDLON administrates, and also has been open for over 20 years there in Pasadena. I'm born and raised in Pasadena, always doing work in the community there. And I started working with NDLON I have about over 3 years now. Been connected with NDLON before that because the Pasadena Job Center is a pillar in the Pasadena community. It's always been involved in different social justice campaigns and social justice movements within Pasadena and all of SGB. And that's how I got connected to the Job Center. Before, they had a minimum wage campaign, which the whole community came to support, many different organizations. And then I came as a community member, and that's how I got more connected to the Job Center. And then throughout the years, it's also been part of the rent control, also the police oversight committee that's now active in Pasadena. So again, different campaigns which brings community together. And that's why the Job Center is such an important space in Pasadena and SGB in general, because it brings community together to change the lives of folks, empower community. And again, like I mentioned, I've been at the Job Center for over 3 years now, and it's a big passion for me to be there because I grew up in Pasadena, so working with the community there, working with the families that I grew up with, working with the schools that I went to, it's a blessing, but also it's a way to continue to empower a community, because that's how you build those relationships, that the trust and the confidence of building community with people that are from the area and from the city. And then it's been a great 3 years, and especially these last 5 years, right, with the pandemic, and then the reckoning with the killing of George Floyd, and now with the fires, and now the second administration of Trump. So it's been a crazy 5 years, but NDLON and the Job Center have always been there for the community and will continue to be there.
Yeah. NDLON continues to be a pillar of community. It's so well known, it's so established in the community that there's built trust there. Which you kind of ended on something that we want to talk about, was the fires that broke out earlier this year in January. NDLON was really on the forefront of it, at the Pasadena Job Center, and all the workers that stepped up to support in such a tragic and disaster for the community of Altadena and Pasadena. And so I'm curious, how did y'all mobilize so quickly? Maybe not, some folks not having experience within like fire relief.
Yeah, and it was something that affected thousands of people. The whole community, Altadena and Pasadena are very connected. The people that are from there, we call it the Dina. Me myself, again, born and raised, I have family that lives in Pasadena, Altadena. I lived there for a little bit. My family was moving around. So there's a big connection, and anyone that's from Pasadena knows Altadena, whether playing soccer leagues or going to different community spaces. It's a very connected two cities, basically. Basically, it's like one city because everyone knows each other. Yeah, and then when the fires happened, it was just this very, again, unexpected. No one expects a disaster like that to happen, especially around their homes. And I remember I was leaving the center that night, and then I got home, and then I just see a little blink of light in the mountains. And we're so close to the mountains, it's always a beautiful thing to see the mountains. We love hiking. There's this one hike that everyone goes to up lake, and then you just see a bright spot of light, and then, oh man, there's a fire. And then all of us were preparing for the winds that were, everyone was saying, oh, it's going to be strong winds and Santa Ana winds. And we all remember, I think it was 2011, where there was a Santa Ana winds, which also like threw a lot of debris on the streets, and it was very, very intense wind. So we were all expecting that. We were never expecting a fire. But yeah, I got home, I saw the bright light, I went inside, dropped my stuff, and then 10 minutes later, I go out to just check, and it just grew, and it just kept growing and growing. And that's when we started getting the messages from workers and from families, like, hey, what's going on? I've been seeing this on the news, and we're just telling people, one, prepare yourself, communicate with family, maybe in case you need to evacuate, because there's a lot of workers that live in Altadena and Pasadena. So the center itself became like a quick emergency, like, information hub. So we used our networks and all the communication lines that we have.
And how do you already have that set up?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Pasadena Job Center has been there for over 20 years. So it's created this big infrastructure of communication with workers. It's specifically Pasadena, Altadena, of workers and employers. So a lot of the work that comes into the job center is from Altadena, whether it's cleaning homes, construction, painting, yard work, moving. A good percentage of our employers that pick up workers from the job center is Altadena. So then we started mobilizing information, especially Spanish information. And I think it was around 7 or 8 when we started getting the alerts, okay, you gotta evacuate. One is first volunteer evacuation, but then it became a mandatory evacuation. And then we kept seeing the different apps and different information of like where the fire is going and how it's growing and where the evacuation zones were. So then myself, I had to evacuate, and I evacuated to my family's home, which is more west in Pasadena. So that's where I evacuated. But then again, we started communicating with workers. Hey, have a plan. If you need to evacuate your place, you need a ride. We'll get rides. So we started coordinating rides, and then we opened up the center also, in case people didn't have nowhere to go. The center was going to be open for people to shelter. So that's what the first thing that we did. We opened up the center as a shelter space, and then we just kept giving information all throughout the night. And again, throughout the night, that's when the fire intensified, and it just rapidly kept going, especially because of the winds, the strong winds. It was like hurricane winds. So then that morning, I myself had to evacuate again, because then the fires reached more towards the west. And so then my parents' home got the alert, oh, you have to evacuate. So then we evacuated to Glendale, where my brother lives. And later on that day, we had to evacuate from Glendale, because then they said, oh yeah, you have to evacuate from Glendale. So then we went different places. But that morning, after the fire started, we met at the job center, with workers. One, because we had some PPE and masks and different things, so we wanted to pass them out to community folks that needed them. But then the workers had a meeting. They came together, we all expressed what things we were going through. Many of the workers living around the area, also having a lot of employers, so we just expressed ourselves and how we were feeling, but also what we can do to support. And the workers, again, being in Pasadena and Altadena for over 20 years, many have employers that they've had for 15, 10 years, and some workers who have like 10 houses that they've worked in Altadena. They're like, well, how can we support? How can we help this community that has been a big part of the center, and we've been a big part of the community? So they said, well, the things that we have right now is our labor, is our hands. That's our superpower. And with the windstorm, all over around the center, there was trees that have fallen. And there's a fire station right in front of us. And we can see them. They were just going up and down, just crazy work that they were doing. And then there was a tree that had fallen that was blocking one of the streets, and they were too busy trying to help the families up in Altadena. So the worker said, well, let's go cut that tree. So we got masks on, different PPE that we had. And it was about 15 workers, and we went out to cut that tree. We cut it, cleaned it all up, put it to the side, and it made it safer for the fire trucks to go in and out, and also for people who were evacuating to move, because at that time there was like a lot of, most of the zones was mandatory evacuations. So and that's how the Fire Relief Brigade was born, with those 15 workers. Because after that tree, we were like, well, let's go to the next one, and then let's go to the next one, and let's go to the next one. So that day, we went to a few streets to, again, clean up green waste that was in the streets, and also that were blocking driveways. I remember there was this one house that we went to, and they couldn't move because a tree had fallen on their driveway, so they couldn't evacuate. So then we went and we cut it. And it was a big tree. It was pretty a tough job, but the workers did it. They cut it and they moved to the side. And then the owner came out and said was very thankful and appreciative that the workers were there. And yeah, that's how the team started. And from that day, it just kept going for, I think, more than a month. Just cleaning up the streets of Pasadena and Altadena. The city said it was going to take about 8 weeks to clean up everything, with the workers and then the thousands of volunteers that also came. We did it in 4 weeks.
Wow, yeah, that's incredible. I think too, hearing you, I'm becoming emotional, but also it's so heroic. The work that people did, knowing that some of these workers lost their homes, some of these workers also were displaced themselves, and they showed up for their own community and the homes where they worked. And I think the labor really shows and where the community shows up. So it's incredible, it's heroic. Thank you so much for the work that NDLON and the Pasadena Community Center has also done. It's incredible. You talked a little bit about the fire brigade and the 15 workers. How did y'all specify who those 15 workers were? Are they folks that just had more availability? Are they folks that had certain skill sets? How was that?
They were just workers that came to the center. Again, the center, it's a day labor center. It's where workers come and we connect them with employers in a safe and just way, making sure it's safe for the workers to go in the workplace. Also to prevent wage theft, discrimination. So we provide worker safety workshops and information, immigrant rights workshops. So that day is just the workers that came that day that were waiting for possibly a job that would come. But also it's again a community space where they know there's always something. When there's something going on in the community, the center is always part of it. So a lot of them came like, hey, what are we gonna do? Hey, what can I do to help? And they were there, and then they decided to have a meeting, and they said, well, let's open up our center. One, to form this fire relief brigade, but also to make it a emergency hub where people can come, one, provide shelter if they need it, but also where people can donate and they can pass out necessities, food, water, clothing. Again, many people lost everything in the fire, so there was a lot of necessity for just basic things, clothing, shoes. So there was a call out for people to donate, and a bunch of people donated, community organizations, individuals, brought food, water, hygiene kits, all different type of things that families and people needed. And it became this big operation, which took over the parking lot in the back. We have had a food bank for 5 years since the pandemic, just providing, again, food for families. And we have been having that for 5 years, so we had that infrastructure, that knowledge to do that type of distribution. So then it just expanded into this big emergency hub, and the folks that run it and the workers, because it's worker led, so the workers that are always there, they came and said, okay, where do we need to organize? So you can see those first few days or first few weeks, the parking lot was just full. And then we made a call out for volunteers, and volunteers showed up. First 100, the next day 200, next day 300. There was one time we had like 1,000 volunteers, again, going to the streets, helping the workers clean up the streets, and then people helping with the distribution. And it was a beautiful thing because, one, there's volunteers that came from many different places, Texas, Arizona, San Diego. There was even this crew of firefighters from Canada that came, and they heard the center was doing amazing things, so we wanted to come and support. So they came and they're like, hey, we have a chainsaw, we can go cut trees. All right. So they went with day laborers from Mexico to a street and started cutting trees. So it's just like, this beautiful thing of people just coming with, love and solidarity, all these acts of love and solidarity during a time where families were going through so much different stuff. People just lost everything. People lost their work. People lost their community or their block. So it's all these things that were happening, traumatic things. But then what we saw is also community lifting up community and providing these acts of love and solidarity. And just seeing the whole center just full of people, hey, how can I help? What can I do? Was a beautiful thing, and being led by the day laborers. So yeah, and that was for like, I think 2 to 3 weeks. It was Monday to Sunday, just like every day. All right, let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. And people just kept coming. Hey, I want to help. So it was great. And again, this was a time during one, we were preparing ourselves for the Trump administration. Right. We were, this other fire that we were preparing for, but then this other fire came. But still seeing that, Trump came into power, and a lot of the workers were worried, like, oh, we're cleaning up the streets, but are we at risk? But again, that's the power of the day laborers, and they said, well, this is what we can do right now. This is our power. And as they were cleaning street by street, they didn't go and ask who each house, who did they vote for the last elections, or are you Republican or Democrat, or do you deserve this? No, they just went street by street because they're like, this is how I show my solidarity, how during this disaster I can help, and this is what I can do. So they went street by street, no matter where, East Pasadena, West Pasadena, South Pasadena, they went to clean the streets, even amongst that fear. But again, you saw that solidarity amongst the community. And that was for us and for the day laborers, they saw that as also in a way of changing hearts and minds. Given all the things that's going on politically, they know the power of their labor and the power of what they can do. And they showed that in those months of cleaning up the whole city.
Yeah. Love is an act, right? And I think that they showed that love for their community and how they showed up in that moment. You touched on two important things. One was the job center already had systems in place to do things such as like food distribution,
Mhm.
produce distribution, things in terms of like masks for when COVID happened.
Mhm.
So there was already a structure in place of how, you were going to be able to distribute materials. And I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about the importance of organizations being prepared for disaster relief. Was there any lessons learned that maybe the job center had where it was like, okay, next time our disaster might be different, but we're still going to show up, but we're going to have this lesson learned?
Yeah.
Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, well, one, just the overall general one, like when we look at a disaster anywhere, whether it be a fire like this one, or an earthquake, or a flood, or a hurricane, it's always the day labor community, the migrant community that comes up and shows up. And they're vital to the cleanup, the recovery, and the rebuilding of that city or of that space. And at times, too, they're the ones who are the most vulnerable that get impacted by those disasters. And we saw it in many of the workers that live in Pasadena and community that lives there, and how even now, after 7 months after the disaster, many are still facing a lot of challenges because they're either uninsured, didn't have insurance, or are renters and didn't have renter insurance. So many different things. But again, any disaster, you always see the community, the migrant community there to help within the recovery process. And we saw this in the fire. And I think that's something that the day labor community takes pride in. Again, they're so proud of the work that they do and the work that their hands do, and this is how they can provide that to the community. For us, one was making sure we're big in health and safety, especially in work and especially in disasters. So that's why within that work, we organized 175 workers to go through a disaster site worker training, which is certified by OSHA. So the workers learn how to use the correct PPE, how to use it, how to put it on, especially in a disaster site, what different type of chemicals or contamination they'll see in a disaster, and then again, how to help with the cleanup and the recovery and the reconstruction of it. And yeah, it was 175 workers that went through it. I don't think that's ever happened in that so much a little time, and also in Spanish. And again, it was workers from all different surrounding cities and SGB, people from Glendale, day laborers from Glendale, Pomona, LA came and were part of the Fire Relief Brigade, but also were able to take that training. And that was something very key for us, because one, for the disaster that's ongoing right now, but also living in California, we know that there's going to be another disaster, whether it be another fire, another or earthquake. So we wanted to prepare workers to face those challenges and be prepared with the correct PPE so they can protect themselves. Because one of the things that we saw and kept hearing, the fire, again, it destroyed around 9,000 houses and damaged another 1,000. And all that in the smoke lifted up a lot of contaminants, whether it could be lead, it could be asbestos, many different metals that are very harmful and cause cancer. And something that people were saying, that they compare this disaster to what happened in 9/11. Because there, a lot after the towers fell down, workers came and picked up, and there was many day laborers that came in and did the recovery and the cleanup. And there, it's very alarming and concerning. A lot of people have passed away from it. A lot of people have gotten cancer. And also the first responders, which the firefighters and rescue teams also have died and gotten cancer. And that was a fear of us, and still is, because there's still a lot of contaminants within the soil and different things that we're trying to, talking with the county, with the city, like, hey, these are things that you need to take into account and help clean up, because the families are back and families are living there, and and workers are working now. So again, health and safety is a really big thing for us. So that's why we did that training. We want to train another 200, again, to prepare workers for the next disaster, wherever it may be. There's a big pool of workers who are ready to go and support.
Yeah. When you started sharing about how workers and laborers are the first to show up, I did think about the book, The Undocumented Americans, and they highlight the work that a lot of folks did during 9/11 and the aftermath and the long-term effects that it had on their health. And we see history repeating itself in different places all across the country. And who continues to show up, right? The laborers. Folks that are there for their community to show up and do the work. And this also brings us into the other topic where we are facing a disaster right now in the San Gabriel Valley with the ice raids. Right? It's a man-made disaster that we're seeing where we're being terrorized by our own government and federal government. And we know that some of folks that come to the job center may be affected. And so how is the team supporting as much as possible, but also maybe protecting their own staff and trying to figure out what the best way to move forward and keep everyone safe, but keep everyone informed too?
Yeah, and then many are calling it the year of fire and ice. Many, again, families and communities have been impacted by again, the fires and now ice. And there's many different things. One, and to your previous question and why was it important for the center to do something amongst everything? One, because the center again has been there for over 20 years, so it has grown a connection to the community and a trust. With the fires, there's a lot of different things where community couldn't get the support that they needed, especially our undocumented community. They couldn't apply for FEMA. They couldn't get a lot of the different support and resources because they were undocumented. And also the fear, especially Trump going into power, a lot of the families didn't want to apply. Even though they had the necessity, they were fire impacted, but they didn't want to apply. So I don't know if I apply to this, is gonna get to the government? Are they gonna know where I'm at? Are they gonna take me? And again, this is before all the raids happened. So that's why the center was very vital, because a lot of people knew us, especially in the undocumented community. So they came to us and like, okay, we can help you apply to this. And this is the information that you need. This is great resources that you're going to be fine if you apply here. And then we had a lot of community partners, churches, community organizations that also gave us funds and donations, which then we can pass out to the community. So that's why it's very important for during a disaster for the community organizations who have been on the ground for years and have that trust already built, or again, community can come and get the necessities that they need. So at the center, I think we didn't have a case manager, but now we do because of what all the work that entails. So we've worked with, I think, 1,000 families one-on-one that are fire impacted, fire survivors, again, because of the trust that they have with the center. And it's still going on because, again, even after 7 months, there's still a lot of challenges that fire survivors are facing, especially with insurance and moving back or finding a lot of the assistance is done or has finished. And then also a lot of the spotlight is gone. There's not many news people coming to Pasadena anymore, Pasadena, regarding the fire. And that's something that a lot of the community expected. Like, oh yeah, probably the first month, we're always gonna be on the news, but after that, no more. But the challenges are still gonna be there. I'm still don't have a home and far away from building one because of insurance issues and not having enough funds and going through permits and going through all these process. So they're going through all that physical stuff, but then the emotional part. And that's what we've been trying to support community in as a space of how we can connect them to different organizations or spaces where they can get that support. And then before, like I mentioned, before the fires, we were doing a lot of Know Your Rights workshops along with many community organizations, because we knew once Trump got into power, there's many things that could happen, especially him running with the campaign of mass deportation. So that's why a lot of community organizations like, hey, let's do Know Your Rights workshops. Let's provide different resources for communities so they can prepare different plans, so they can prepare. So that's what we were doing. We were doing Know Your Rights workshops, and we also had a campaign to do committees. Somos Más committees is what we called them. So we did an asamblea, a church next to the center, where about 100 people came from the community with the purpose of creating committees within the community, whether it be an apartment complex or a street, for folks to come together, have a protocol and a network where they can communicate in case ICE comes. If someone's taken, they have that communication.
It's like a rapid response almost.
Yeah,
network.
yeah, and for it to be from the community, for the community to empower themselves. Okay, this is how we organize each other. And it's with, again, the slogan that we always say, solo el pueblo, solo el pueblo. So we wanted to prepare folks with that. So the asamblea was very successful, and it was asamblea that was done in many different other states with different worker centers that are part of the network. So committees were formed in many different places, and in Pasadena with this asamblea, a few different ones were formed. And a lot of those then turned into rapid response teams, and that's what we have now. And that's one of the great resources that the community has done. And again, these are made by faith-based organizations and community members that had, since October, started to organize rapid response teams. And then as the year started, again, I was focused on the fires, but then the raids started happening. And so those teams and those networks started getting very activated. And I think that's helped a lot of the community. And we as a center have been helping support and providing resources. We have red cards, we have different pamphlets that people were passing out to the community. And it's also another, again, acts of love and solidarity, where just different people from the community are coming to be part of the rapid response, going on patrol, going around schools, parks, different places, and those were born. With the fire happening, I think a lot of the sense of the community, and that's something that the government mentioned, that they weren't going to go to disaster sites or disaster zones. We were still like, we don't believe them. So we were preparing, but they had mentioned, we weren't going to go to any disaster zones. So we started seeing a lot of the raids happening in LA, and we started sending community members and rapid response teams to support, find the information of who was taken so we can provide legal support. And I think it was in that for a few weeks, so we just kept seeing the reports on the news, another raid here, another raid there. So, and then we kept also partnering with other organizations that were helping. But then it came to Pasadena. And it was at a Winchell's where they came and took 4 day laborers. And our rapid response, again, activated different community organizations and faith-based organizations came to the space. And that's where we started, who was taken, how can we support them, get the legal support. And something that we, as NDLON, have been doing when a raid happens is we organize these vigils, where we go to the place where someone was kidnapped. One, to provide a space for community, because when a raid happens, community is scared, there's fear. But also provide a space where people can organize and funnel that energy into this organizing way or structure. So we organize a vigil, and we also bring music, because music is a way where we all connect And it's also with the lyrics and sounds, we all feel those lyrics and sounds. It's a way of expression, right? We express a lot of our energies and emotions through music. And then with that, that's how we all connect. Because I don't know you, but I know both of us are angry and both of us want to do something. And music is a great hook for that, to create that space. So when that raid happened, later that day we organized a vigil and hundreds of people came. Again, people angry and upset that this hate and terror, these masked men in unmarked cars with guns came to our community and took our neighbors and took our fathers, uncles, and they weren't doing anything wrong. They were just waiting on the bus stop to go to work and to go be part of the recovery of Pasadena. So with that vigil, I believe we had information of 2 workers that were taken, but we didn't have the other 2. But with that vigil, that family came out and said, hey, that's my family member that was taken. And that's how we were able to coordinate with that family. And then the community, there was a box that was passed and people started donating funds for the legal support. And it was just this, again, beautiful space where community came, was angry, but then funneled it into, okay, let's organize now. Let's be together, let's be in solidarity. And from that raid, 3 of the people that were kidnapped became part of the main plaintiffs in the lawsuit that was done against the raids, against the government, which provided the temporary restraining order, which for a little bit stopped the raids, because again, the raids were happening and they were getting people based on their color, right? There was racial profiling happening, and that lawsuit or that legal process created this TRO, which for a few weeks stopped it, but now as we're seeing, they're completely disregarding any legal process and disregarding the TRO, and they're just again going to Home Depots, going to car washes, and without any warrant, without any notice, without anything, and they're just kidnapping people. But again, that showed how community can organize. And then when other raids happen in Pasadena and surrounding areas, we provide the infrastructure to create a space, a vigil or a demonstration where people in that community can organize, can get to know each other, and protect community. Something also that happened in one of those vigils, people got together, and now there's what we call CDC, Community Defense Corners, that are in Pasadena. There's about 4 now, and it's because of those vigils that people got to know each other, and hey, let's connect, hey, let's do this, and now there's another level of organizing in Pasadena.
Yeah, that's incredible. It also brings up the importance of being in community and being in spaces of folks that want to release what they're feeling, right? And I think that there's this huge criticism around protests or vigils or actions that community takes. A lot of time people say like, well, you're not going to do it, you're just going to go scream. And you've expressed how it's much more than expressing what we feel. It's about organizing, meeting other people, getting the resources, collecting funds. It is such a sacred space almost of like being able to hold community and also voice the needs and speak up for others that can't in the moment. I think that's also incredible, and also shows to the power that NDLON has, where there's community trust to show up, right? Because it's already such a scary day when like in the morning something happens, the community is scared, and then by nighttime they're together again, where they're trying to figure out how to get their community member back. And I think that only happens when you build trust with community. I think that shows for the Pasadena Job Center, the work that y'all have done. And
then something that we, as NDLON, we've been trying to promote and have people adopt is adopt a corner or adopt a Home Depot. So we've been partnering with different organizations and just community members for people to come to Home Depot and just get to know the day laborers, get to know the community there. So in case something happens, there's people there that can document, people there that can support the day laborers. And that's been happening, and it's a beautiful thing that people have been adopting corners, adopting Home Depots from that community, because that's also a way where community can be built, where people that live around Home Depot or corner, they're being active in the community and saying, again, this message of I don't want hate and terror to come into my community, so I'm bringing love and solidarity to this corner. So people put up tents and they're just there, just, hey, we're here in case something happens. And again, the day labor community is very appreciative of that. I think right now around the country, the last time I saw it, I think there was like 65 official adopted corners. And again, our push is for more. And yeah, that's the campaign that we have right now.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned that it's the year of fire nights, and that these are things that are impacting our community so heavily. And because it's been over 6 months at this point since the fire started, and then somewhere within the halfway mark, ICE came, what are ways in which community can continue showing up for the job center, but also NDLON? How can the community come back to support and continue showing up, right? I think that, like you said, it's in the news for a cycle, and then it just kind of moves on, right? It moves on to something else that's happening, but the workers remain, and people continue showing up, and they need to show up for their families and their community. So what can be the ask? How can we continue supporting?
So there's many different things. One, we still have the distribution hub. Every Fridays, there's still many fire survivors that are coming to pick up, groceries, different necessities. We still get donations from different organizations. So every Friday from 9 to 12, we have that distribution hub, and we always need volunteers to come and help. And again, and like always, it's always a way to build community, so people get to know each other as they're helping and giving out these different necessities to fire survivors. So at times we've had college students, we have, again, faith-based organizations, churches, different community members just come and like, hey, I see that you live down the street, but I never talked to you, and they just meet right there at the food distribution. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, now we're working together, and we're helping our community. Like, yeah. So that's happening, and also given when there's the raids happening, right? There's a lot of families that are even scared to go to the distribution, even scared to go to grocery store or to take their kids to school. So we've been organizing in social deliveries. So the food that comes, we go to different places and deliver them, and we always need volunteers for that. There again, Adopt a Corner. There's many different Home Depots. Again, right now they're focusing on Home Depots and car washes. So we're calling on people to adopt those Home Depots and be there. And the more the better. People can be there documenting, and also those ICE agents, but sometimes we don't even know that they're agents or bounty hunters. They can see that there's community there, and the community is going to be there to protect the day laborers there and the workers there. So adopting a corner, adopting a Home Depot is still big. And then there's always something happening at the center. People are always welcome to come to the center. There's always we're always supporting a different either worker center or a different city that just went through a raid or something. So it's that part. And then also just if people are able to donate, we're supporting a lot of day laborers that have been kidnapped. With legal support. So we've created many different GoFundMes for them and their families. Again, many of the people that are kidnapped are the providers of their family. So we want to support them to get them out with the legal support, but then also support the family. Pay the rent, get the different necessities for their kids. So there's a lot of different GoFundMes that people can look up and donate there.
Great. Yeah. And if people want to volunteer, should they go to the website or just show up on Friday to support, or is there an orientation ahead of time to support?
Yeah, for NDLON, there's again different things, but on the website ndlon.org, there's a volunteer form. People can sign up, and then different sections that they can sign up for, and then they'll be guided to where and to who they'll be contacting. And again, people can just come to the job center and just talk to the staff there, and they'll direct you where you can volunteer and get involved. But also, we always tell people also organize within your street, within your body, or within your apartment complex. That's what is needed. For people that are in the ground, for instance, in their apartment complex, you can organize your apartment complex, or at least create a network or a type of line of communication where if a ICE raid happens in front of your apartment, there's a communication where people know, okay, this is what's happening, and people stay in your homes, or don't come out, or keep your door closed, or a different resource of know your rights information. So one is a big call out for people to organize within their community, because as we know, ICE is getting a lot of money, billions of dollars. We don't know what's going to happen, so we want to prepare as much as we can, and for the community to defend themselves. And that's why we always say solo el pueblo, because that's what's been happening. Anytime there's been, especially in these recent times, something happens, it's the community that shows up. We just saw that in San Bernardino, which is this powerful act of love and solidarity, where the whole neighborhood came out and protected that one family that was being followed by ICE. And that's the type of stuff that we need, where community is coming out and saying, hey, we don't want hate and terror in our communities, and we're gonna push you out in a peaceful way with love and solidarity.
Yeah, that's an important reminder. And finally, if someone had a day to experience the spirit of the Job Workers Center of NDLON or the San Gabriel Valley, what would you want them to see or be a part of?
Just like we always say, again, it's love and solidarity. That's come for people to see, just the open heart and open minds that you'll see when you come to the job center. It's a beautiful space. Again, been there for over 20 years, creating space for community, being part of all these different changes and movements within the different years. And it's just this, again, love and solidarity. People want to come and you grow. And I think everyone that comes into the center also leaves their presence. I think, and it's a beautiful space where people also bring themselves, bring their knowledge, bring their culture, and it becomes part of the center. And that's why I think there's so many people that come to the center, because at the center there's many people from different places. There's from all South America, Central America, from Africa, different places, and they all bring this beautiful spirit of pride, but also love and solidarity, in a way where we can all come together, appreciate each other, and then organize when we need to organize. And I think that's what we need, especially in these times, is to provide these spaces. Something that we always say too, especially with these vigils, and now we're organizing block parties too, because one, with the raids, many people weren't coming out, but that's what they want, right? They want us to live in misery, and they want to make it so hard so people can self-deport. And unfortunately, we've been seeing that, where people are like, you know what, I'm just gonna self-deport. But one thing that we're doing is, and what we're saying is, joy is also a resistance. Joy is also part of the resistance, and that's why music and culture and food, and these block parties that we've been organizing, where the community is coming out to, again, enjoy their community, enjoy their street, but also understand that they're not alone, and that there's this whole community here to support, and that we're all organizing together. And we just had one a few weeks ago, and 1,000 people came off from that street, And have said that, oh yeah, man, I haven't been out in 2 weeks, and to come to this in front of where I live, it was just beautiful. And we brought street vendors who haven't sold for 2 to 3 weeks, and they sold out. And it was just like this, again, acts of love and solidarity where people are seeing it, are embracing it, and then they're doing it themselves. And that's what we're gonna need in these next coming months. So
yeah, acts of love and solidarity. Well, thank you so much. We want to thanks for tuning in to ActiveLab, and thank you, Jose Madera, for joining us, for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedule to come be on a podcast and be interviewed and talk about this. I can imagine this is not an easy topic, right? Because every time you share it, it's like reliving a trauma, and we know that you are living it every single day. And so we thank you for continuing to show up for community, right? And maybe it's the best way that you know how to show up. We want to make sure that you follow us on Instagram at ActiveSGB for more stories, event updates, and behind the scenes look at this year's celebration. We want to invite everyone to join us at Noche de las Luminarias, where we're celebrating 15 years of community action, where we will be honoring Jose Madera and the work that y'all have done at NDLON and the Pasadena Job Center. So we hope to see community there, and we're looking forward to honor you and your teammates. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you, and honored to be here. So yeah, thank you.